like the CEOs or the executives or organization are also prioritizing sustainability, not only because it's the right thing to do, but it's because that's business value. And organizations are also talking about resiliency when they think about sustainability or regeneration, because it's not sustainability or profits. They are sensing that connecting to sustainability or resiliency drives profit.
Hi, this is your PM Cowboy coming back to you with another podcast. I believe it's number 42. And as always, I say this at every podcast that we do because it's true. I'm excited about the topic and I'm excited about the guests that we have. We have, I might almost say, PMI royalty in the house, Lucila Dotto, right? Longtime advocate for everything around PMI, but we'll talk specifically what her function is today. She has a very specific function that she's going to talk. So I'm excited, number one, that we have you. I'm excited that we're coming to you from our pop-up studio at the PMI Chapter Austria Forum, which we support, of course. And the third reason I'm excited is because we have a great topic. We're going to be talking about sustainability, right? The PM Cowboy Podcast tends to talk about different subject matters that are important to managers and leaders all over the world. Specifically, we love our project managers, but anybody else who wants to listen in is welcome. And the last and final reason, and this is kind of a call out to you viewers, I'm thrilled. It's not the first time, but we don't have enough of female representation on our podcast, primarily because a lot of the ladies I ask are too shy, okay? Lucila is shy when she wants to be, but she stands for something as well. So I invite more women to reach out to us. Lucila, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mark, for having me. And yes, more women. We need more women.
Yes, we need more women, absolutely. We're talking about sustainability. But before we get into the subjects of sustainability, we have this tradition at the podcast. When I listen to podcasts and I listen to the smart words of other people, I can't pay attention if I don't know who the heck is talking, right? So we call this our passion journey. I'm sure our viewers want to know this is about who is Lucila Dotto, where do you come from, what do you do at PMI, and what led you to that path?
Well, I'm originally from Argentina. But I have a lot of European family connections. So I have the Italian citizenship. I have been living in London for the last 6 years, now relocated in Madrid. So that's a little bit about my journey. I love PMI because of the international aspect of the community. I'm a psychologist by background. I always was passionate about education and transformation and coaching people to be a better version of themselves. And then I started working in organizational psychology, helping organizations to develop a more purpose-led approach. So I have a boutique consulting in Argentina. And then when I moved to London, I started working in KPMG. In KPMG, I was privileged to lead the purpose reinvigoration journey at a global scale that was about ESG, the impact on people, society, clients. And then I came to PMI. And I was the head of community for Europe. And now in this role, I started in April, that I think it combines a lot of passions that I have because it's elevating the world. It's also about community, that it's something that is close to my heart. And of course, it's putting sustainability at the heart and center of what we do.
I think sustainability is one of those things that we can't get around. It's all over the place. Everybody talks about it, but I think we sometimes wonder about companies' clarity of vision and commitment to it. How do you see organizations today prioritizing sustainability?
Well, I was lucky enough to be in New York for the United Nations Global Compact, and I was really positively surprised to see the recent research that they do every year that is called the CEO Report. They have done it with Accenture, and they have interviewed 2,000 CEOs at a global scale. And one of the insights that struck my attention was that 99% of the CEOs considering or maintaining or expanding their sustainability commitments. So I think the business case for sustainability is really important because 2,000 CEOs of the most important organizations are saying this is a strategic priority. But also the other side is half of them mention that they don't feel comfortable speaking about what they are doing in the sustainability space. So, and that's also something that in PMI we are seeing. A lot of organizations are really emphasizing the importance of sustainability, but there is a gap with execution, how we make sustainability real and action-oriented. So I think it's something that the project management profession can add real value.
I think you're touching upon an age-old problem. I think in one of the books I read from Stephen Covey, I think it was from The Eighth Habit, he talks about this, that the purpose of a CEO is to develop vision and mission, to give direction of an organization. But it takes much more than that. As a strategic vision has to be broken down into a tactical level, and then has to be broken down into operations. And I think in one of the surveys that Stephen Covey did, he interviewed, I think, 500 CEOs and said, "Do you have a vision and a mission?" And he goes, "Yes." And is it important? Yes. And what would you estimate? How many of your employees know that vision and mission? They go, "Oh, like 99%." And then he went to the employees, and only a small portion. It's not that people don't know the vision, but if you can't translate it into day-to-day work, I think that's a big challenge. And I'm assuming that's also part of your challenge at PMI is not just to focus on the strategic level, which is important, right, to create awareness. So is there a focus also at PMI on a tactical and an operational level?
Yeah, well, that's exactly part of my role. So the vision was set as sustainability is a key priority for PMI, and we launched a joint venture with Green Project Management in April. But now my role is bringing that vision, that strategy to life, no? And part is starting with the awareness piece. So this is pretty much my focus these days, but how we are also reinvigorating the community and really working with champions and ambassadors across the globe to really make it action-oriented and really real for the community.
Yeah. I think that's hugely important because I think it's one thing. I think a lot of good initiatives are often managed from a grassroots perspective, but if you don't have support and endorsement from up top, it makes it a little bit difficult. PMI, in its tradition of creating standards, has also created literature on the Green Initiative. What you want to share with our viewers? What two wonderful books we have on?
Yeah, so as part of the joint venture with Green Project Management, we have like a lot of content and methodology in our ecosystem. So I would say that the P5 is my favorite one because it addresses the people, planet, prosperity, product, and process component. So it's an invitation to move beyond traditional project management and the triple constraint to really expand the perspective. And those resources are for free. So the P5 you can start including in your project tomorrow, Mark. Then we have like the competence standard, the practice guide, and we're going to release a new product that is about reporting the value and the sustainable impact of projects, and we're launching that in the Global Summit now in Phoenix. But I want to reiterate that all of them are free because it's aligned with our mission to equip the project profession to really drive real change. And then we have a certification, so you can formalize your knowledge through a PMI and GPM certification.
So who are the targets for the certification?
I would say that the mission for the sustainability space in PMI is to elevate every project. So sometimes we think that sustainability is only about green initiatives or climate initiatives, but our position and this tool help every project professional to elevate your project. So every project can be done in a sustainable way. So I would say that the target audience is our project management community, and we have like a shorter version of the exam for the people that are PMP or CAPM, so you can really add that deep knowledge in the sustainability space.
I'm going to double down on my question because it's also a question I have. I'm allowed to ask questions that are important to me. Do I have to be a green manager to get a green certification?
No, not really. So this certification is targeted for project professionals because it's how change happens in the organization and to really be addressing this methodology of including people, process, prosperity, products, and planet in every project. And of course, if people are working in the green space, in the sustainability space, and want to gain the insights from the project management profession, of course, they are also invited. So I would say that the audience is that blend, but you don't need to have like previous experience in sustainability. You need to have the passion of elevating the world through the projects that you're leading.
I think you said something really important, and some people might ask, what does PMI have to do with green initiatives other than maybe wanting to feel good about it? It's more than feeling good. And you kind of mentioned it offhanded, but I want to underline that sentence. real change is often, the vehicle for real change is projects, right? Project management is important. I think what's also important, and this is kind of one of my soapboxes that I like to get on, I had the privilege of doing a little bit of work for some of the UN organizations, for the UNIDO in particular. And what I liked about them is that they differentiated between, not them, just them, but also them, that they understand that there's a deliverable, there's an output, which is sometimes technical, sometimes specific. The people who deliver the deliverable are in love with it. The people who receive it say, it's not that important to me. What I want to know is, what is the outcome? What is the benefit that I derive from that? And I think when we talked about prosperity, I'm going to tie this together in just a moment, and this whole value delivery concept. And I think one of the biggest challenges that I'm sure you also face in your advocacy for this topic is that a lot of people think that those are two things that stand in contrast, in competition with one another. You can't do something that's sustainable and talk about prosperity at the same time, because all these initiatives cost money, right? And I like the fact that this is one of the things you're addressing, because ultimately I think you have outputs, you have outcomes, but I think the true value, if we're talking about really achieving mission and vision in an organization, is what impact you have. And whether it's SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, translated maybe into your context, okay, is an important thing. And I think it's also great that publicly traded companies, executives are asked to show how many green points they've developed over the time. I think it's important. I think we're far from it being really established and well set, but I think that's important. So from your perspective, you see PMI being well positioned for this advocacy role.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to go back. Last year, PMI launched the biggest research that we conducted, that is the Project Success Report. And it was a global research to identify what a successful project is. And a successful project is the one that adds value, the impact that you were talking before. And another insight that is super relevant is that sustainability is the higher predictor of project success. So we map projects, and the one that were including KPIs and that sustainable aspect, they were 2.5 times more successful. Okay. So that is also a good case for including sustainability in your projects. Of course, we want to do good, and good is the new cool. But we want to really make an impact, and we want our projects to be successful. And also we are seeing that the organizations that invest in sustainability, there is a correlation in profit, because ultimately sustainability is about efficiency. So how efficient we are in the use of our resources, in the use of our own energy. So it's not that sustainability is opposite of profit. In fact, if you promote impact, then the profit comes. And that there are a lot of research, and we are seeing this more and more talking with organizations.
One of the things that I picked up when I did my short stint with the UN was that there's a lot of consultancy around the topic of impact. I think there's an organization called GIN, written G-I-I-N, that collect some of the KPIs. But one of the things that, coming from PMI, where I'm used to, clear framework, clear vocabulary, clear KPIs, I missed that a little bit in the impact environment. And that's one of the reasons when I heard that PMI was doing the sustainability, my ears perked up. I said, well, finally somebody's going to bring some structure in there. Measurability is an issue, right? Since a lot of it is long-term. Is PMI also working on providing tools and vocabulary and methodologies to better assess?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned the P5 methodology. So that helps a lot to promote that sustainable impact from the initiation of the project to the closure, and to help the project profession to measure. So what gets measured gets done, as we all know. Yeah. So we are seeing that many organizations are including this methodology in the ESG reporting. And then this new asset that we are launching, the Global Summit next week, the Sustainability Reporting Guide, will equip the project professionals to really map and measure, and what does it mean for projects. So again, we're putting a lot of emphasis in the measurement component, because we need to structure the project in the sustainability way, but also we need to show the KPIs and the real impact that you were talking. Because it's also about awareness, no? If we really know the impact, then people are more prompt to...
Well, if you have a vocabulary, if you have a framework, it makes it more, people become more accountable.
Yeah.
You can call people out on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When I was reading through the literature from PMI, and one question kept popping up in my head, because one of the things that's often lumped in with green initiatives, and you guys didn't call it green, you call it sustainability, which I thought was a broader term. A lot of people think of ESG, they think of corporate social responsibility, they think of SDGs, all things that need advocacy, okay? My question to you is, was there a reason that PMI didn't include all of those under one umbrella?
Yeah, well, it's part. So we consider that sustainability is broader. And for example, the P5 methodology, the certification that we have, equip project professionals to measure and then ultimately bring those insights to the ESG strategy of the organization. But we were thinking holistically, ESG is much more for organizations. Sustainability is broadening that perspective. So it like the certification tackles the ESG and the reporting and so on, or the corporate responsibility. But sustainability ultimately is bigger, because it's about environment, prosperity, so how we really become champions of this movement.
What are some of the big PMI goals in the GPM-5?
Yeah, so one of the key things is we want to position PMI as the leading authority in sustainable project management. So we are the leading authority.
Small and completely unambitious goal.
Exactly, of course, we need to dream big.
And they didn't get the right person for the job, absolutely not, no. Very good.
So we know that PMI is the leading authority for project management. We really want to think in terms of sustainable project management and how we promote that advocacy, awards related to sustainability, how really we showcase the value of projects elevating the world. We also want to grow our community of certified project professionals in the sustainability space. We are super lucky that the chapter president of the Austria chapter is certified, and one of our...
He's certified in everything.
Well, no, I want to feel that he's special.
I love Dirk, but he's got to think every certification PMI has.
Yeah, well, I was feeling special. And then we have like one of our sustainability champions, that it's the new network that we are promoting, is also from Austria, Daniel. So PMI is not only about learning, but it's about connecting and community, and we are seeing that more and more. So another of my targets is how we really activate our community, the superpower of our community, working with more than 300 chapters across the globe to really be championing the sustainable transformation in the world.
Very good. Where do you see the biggest challenges that are, I think the agile word is impediments.
Yeah, I would say, you said that earlier in your presentation. He was saying a statistic, kind of like statistic that 90% of people, what was your statistic? Say it
was actually an anecdotal.
Anecdotal.
But I was saying that there was a couple things I said. One thing I said, if for all of us experts who follow a framework and are dedicated to our craft, and we've gone through the shu, ha, ri stages, I think we often forget, because we're so in love with our topic, is that the majority of people out there who are practitioners, are doing project managers, are still autodidacts. They get thrown in the cold water, in the deep end, and they say swim, and somehow they manage. And I'm not even saying that disrespectfully. I think we just need to understand that the world is much, much bigger. There's much more project management out there than we cover with our community, although I think we do a good job. And the only reason I say that is I think we need to be conscious that I think what we do has more relevance than we actually think, and I think there's a lot more people that we can bring on board and should bring on board.
Yeah. I was asking this question not because I want to take your place and interview, but I feel that we have the same challenge in terms of awareness. I think we have like the challenge of bringing awareness to our community, because sometimes we don't know what we don't know, and most of the people think that sustainability is about the planet, which it is about the planet, but not only about the planet. And then it's externally, how we really position PMI as the leading authority, PMI and Green Project Management as the leading authority in this space. So I would say that my biggest challenge is around awareness. I'm starting, of course, with the community, the champions, the chapters, to really understand what sustainability is. And also it's a call to action, because we can start small and scale smart.
Yeah.
And all of us have a role to play, and that's a challenge and an opportunity, because we know that, I was saying, sustainability is the higher predictor of project success, but only 23% of projects have a sustainability KPI.
Yeah, if that many.
Exactly.
I'd be surprised if it were that many.
Probably.
Yeah.
So I think we have like a big space to grow and to really embed sustainability in our projects, embedding not as an add-on, as a side project, because sustainability is the project, is the how.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of alluding to before, and that's why I like the fact. I mean, you have the green initiative in the background, and there's a green touch to it, and there's some green color on the cover of the book. But I thought it was very, very wise on PMI's part to use the word sustainability, because sustainability is not just a green thing. Sustainability means, are we going to exist tomorrow? And there's all sorts of factors that tie into the sustainability. And I think starting with that word and then expanding it, including some of the modern challenges is important, because ultimately energy sourcing is going to be important. Limited resources, supply chain issues are also an ongoing thing. I think this is important, and I think it's a good thing to start off with. What are other critical issues that you see out there that you think that PMI needs to work on? What about you said that all executives say, yeah, of course, we're doing it. I'm the PM Cowboy, I'm allowed to do this. I'm allowed to lovingly and critically question that.
Of course.
I think there's a big gap between what human beings, individuals think and feel, and the pressures that exist when you have an important role where you have shareholders and stakeholders and financial responsibility and economic crunch and technological disruption, and you often feel like an imposter. I can understand and empathize with CEOs that say, just another thing that's hanging around my neck, I don't know where to start. So I think there's a personal commitment. I don't think anybody's not green. I think the question is, when we work in an organization, can we maintain those principles, right? Yeah. So I would probably. Is there any initiatives that PMI is? But I'm guessing the certification and the standards are not just for project managers.
Yeah, exactly.
There should be good reads for the executives as well,
Absolutely,
right?
And I think you say it really nicely earlier as well, but like the CEOs or the executives or organization are also prioritizing sustainability, not only because it's the right thing to do, but it's because that's business value. And organizations are also talking about resiliency when they think about sustainability or regeneration, because it's not sustainability or profit. They are sensing that connecting sustainability or resiliency drives profit, because it brings about, exactly, it avoids risk, it promotes stakeholder engagement, revenue, employee engagement. So there are a lot of business factors that connect to sustainability. And I think that's the reason 99% of the CEOs says this is important, because it's not only good.
They know that it's important.
Exactly.
They might not know how to do it, but they know it's important.
Exactly. So I think we need to work in two layers, probably, or more. But one is like the CEOs, the vision, and the other is the execution. And I think the project profession has a key role to play in terms of the execution, but it's also an invitation for us project professionals to expand perspective beyond the triple constraint, to really be talking the business language, to really be showcasing the value of promoting sustainability in the business language.
I always thought that one of the key values of PMI, and this is an old saying from back in the 90s, there was this saying, think global and act local, right? I think, and you can think that way in your organizations as well. On a tactical or an operational level, there's other people dealing with sustainability. But at the top, the head has to be right as well. The strategic commitment needs to be. And I always said, PMI has local representation, but the great value of PMI on a corporate level is that corporations talk with corporations. You can talk with CEOs. Pierre talks with CEOs. You have many different advocates out there that are engaging CEOs and bringing the topic to the forefront and letting them know, hey, there's we as an organization are pushing that. So I think that's a huge value. I recently I did an MBA a long time ago, and one of the ladies that I was doing the MBA with, we met recently, and she was responsible for CSR and ESG in her company. And I was totally enthusiastic. I went to her and I was talking to her about triple balance, triple bottom line, and this whole impact thing. And I coming from it from a totally idealistic perspective. And she was CFO in the company. She says, I hate to shoot a hot needle in your hot air bubble, but in our company, it's the legal department that does ESG. And I said, why is the legal department doing ESG? Just because any claims we have, anybody who sues us for anything, that's where it goes. And I was like, and so what am I actually trying to say here? I think one of the key issues that project management has, quality management has, risk management has, also sustainability. These are huge, important initiatives, but they don't always have an automatic home in an organization. It's not like at the marketing department or the IT department. They don't have the same budget, they don't have the same resources, they don't have representation all the way up to the board. And my question is, who from your perspective, if for CEOs or other executives out there listening, who from PMI's perspective should be driving the initiative? Because if you don't have the who's doing the how, then your vision remains a vision. What are some of the things that PMI is promoting in that?
Well, I would say, before I go into PMI, I would say that as in every organizational strategy, if you don't have like the leadership sponsorship, it's difficult.
Yeah, so executive endorsement should happen.
Yes, exactly.
But somebody has to do the work, and it's not going to be them.
Exactly. So in PMI, it's me, but I have a lot of executive support and who have drive the strategy. We have committees, and everyone is involved. I could say that it depends on the organization because, for example, my role sits in the community, but PMI is so unique that community is the superpower. So I work with the learning team, with the product team, with the marketing team, but my role sits in the community because the community is the superpower of PMI. So I wouldn't be worried about where this role sits as long as you have leadership sponsorship and the person that is driving this initiative is constantly in communication and really has that ears to listen what's happening in the ground, because in that way my role is to listening to the people, the community, the market, and translate those insights into business strategies, as well as I connect and try to influence our leadership team. So as in any transformation, you need to have like that pillars that connect top-down, bottom-up approach.
Do you believe that, not that I'm trying to give PMOs more work to do you think that PMOs is potentially in some contexts?
100%. So we have done some particular webinars for PMOs. I think they have a strategic role in the organizations and probably we need to do more. So happy to do something dedicated to that community, because PMOs in particular are the ones that translate those strategies, business strategies into action. So if they have the sustainability commitment, they can really be championing and big advocates to this transformation.
As somebody who's guided many change initiatives, and I'm sure you have in your professional career as well, they are often prolonged and protracted and difficult. And one of the things that we often face with new initiatives is it just takes time for the culture to accept it. The first reaction to change is resistance. And I think the other phenomenon you have to deal with is this concept of a first mover. First movers are rare. They're rare. I'm also assuming that part of the PMI strategy to promote the sustainability initiative is to look for first movers. So is that the case? And what specifically are you doing to promote first movers and also celebrate them?
Yeah, I think like you touched earlier the concept of celebration. I'm a really big advocate of celebrating the wins because it's the positive psychology reinforcement. So it's better to start small and scale and celebrate what is working. So that's what we are trying to do. So currently, if we think about the community, we recruited champions that are GPM-b certified. So they have that basic knowledge and passion to influence the chapters. We are also starting to work with more of 300 chapters at a global level because those local communities can help us to expand that visibility. So we are trying to celebrate the chapters that are already championing the sustainable transformation. And on the business side and university side, we are really promoting the certification at a bigger and larger scale. As you said really beautifully, we need to impact and influence outside the PMI community to reach awareness. But we are trying to expand that, give visibility, give recognition, celebrating. We are launching an awards next year. So this year we have a Green Project Management Award that's going to be celebrated in Phoenix now in the Global Summit, but next year we will have a PMI and GPM award in sustainability. We're also working on guidelines for chapters to give awards. The culture of recognition and celebration is really, really important. And I think there are many people that are super passionate. Some people get certified to be champions, to give back to the profession and to really be leading this transformation.
I don't envy you for, PMI Chapter Austria a long, long time ago, I also had an award process with this big clump of a statue with gold on it. And it was something we did. But one of the things I realized in the award process, it's also a huge effort. How is PMI going to select and I should say, rank the multitude of potential projects that might be coming in?
Well, that's going to be a challenge, and I think it's a nice challenge because if we have a lot of nominations, it's because we are doing good. So probably we are trying to, the guidelines are being done right now, but we are embedding the P5 methodology as well. So trying to really connect how we define the successful projects with the methodology that we are promoting through the certification and the guidelines and so on. So really being clear on what we are measuring, and then that measure can also be taken as a guideline for projects to identify what they need to be doing.
So you're basically saying you figure it out when you get there.
Yeah, probably,
which is good.
yes.
You have a plan, but a lot of it will be figuring out as you go.
Probably after the Global Summit.
It's not like, awards it's not the first time people come up with awards, so there's some probably existing frameworks that you can...
Yeah, exactly. But definitely it's going to be based on the P5 methodology that I mentioned earlier. People, planet, prosperity, products, and processes.
I think those are great measurements to measure by. I mentioned beforehand the UN, and I don't know if this statistic is correct, but I think somebody once told me that the amount of money that all the UN organizations spend a year goes up partly to the trillions in different projects. I always asked myself in when I was working that they had this requirement that all projects had to be audited at least twice, once in the middle and once towards the end. And my first question was, why not at the beginning when you select them? That's where I would start. But it was this commitment to this dedication to their SDGs when the UN is the organization that helped develop it, and they also have this focus on impact. I often felt that PMI and the UN are two potential partners that would do a lot of good knowing each other. Is there any initiative going in that direction?
Yes, well, PMI is part of the United Nations Global Compact. So our CEO, Pierre Leman, met with the CEOs of all the United Nations Global Compact organizations in New York last September. Joel Carboni from Green Project Management is one of the people that helped to write the Sustainable Development Goals. So there is a lot of connections. I was there as well. So we have this partnership. Now probably we're going to do a webinar for the people that work for the UN in terms of the P5. So there are a lot of potential collaboration, and it's also the opportunity to talk the business language with other CEOs and executives and the value that the project profession brings to the table.
So what's your feedback on the certification so far?
What's the feedback that I receive, or what's the feedback that I have? Because I'm certified as well. So.
No, I expect it. Actually, by the way, can I say thank you to you and to Pierre and the new management of PM. It used to drive me nuts to have CEOs and board members who were not certified. And I think if you're gonna preach it, you should stand by it. And I want to congratulate you. Yeah. It's the minimum expectation, but I still congratulate you. It's a definite sign of leadership outwards. You can't, you need to get...
Yeah, I have free PMI certifications.
Which ones?
CAPM, PMP, and GPM-b.
Oh, good for you. Do the PMO one. I love it. It's a good one. Yeah.
My next one.
But what's your external, your GPM-b certification? What's the feedback you're getting there right now?
People are loving it. Yeah. So as I said, people were so excited that some people were saying, I want to do this to become a champion and multiply the impact. I think it's really nice because it's like when you are reading a book that you want to go deeper and deeper and deeper. So that's the style. Yeah. And then when people get certified, then connect with me and said, I want to be part of this movement to really elevate the profession. Yeah. So the feedback has been amazing. I think we need to do more as a community to expand the visibility, to really manage the perception in the organization. What I would say is the feedback also that I receive is what are we doing with executive level? Yeah. So myself, PMI executives, our CEO are working a lot with business organizations, university, to really expand the perception of the project management profession and our role in the world's transformation. But it's also an invitation for all of us to play our part. So I think when you are in a project, you can educate your team. We have a lot of resources that are for free, so you can bring it there. If you're really passionate and you have knowledge, or if you don't have knowledge but you want to be certified, it's an invitation to really be championing this space. And then, of course, we need to manage the perception of our profession. I think all of us can help to elevate the role of the project profession to the business language and to really own the project success beyond the triple constraint of just the scope, the schedule, the budget. So really think about the impact that we generate in the organization. That starts with each of us.
This might be a daring question, but I think it would be important to ask, because I'm sure a couple of you are thinking of it. And our podcast is non-political. I don't expect you to make political statements. But if we look at the tone in the world today, I think for a long time I think there was a big focus on science, and there was a focus on sustainability in a more rational sort of way, and the tone has changed a little bit, if not a lot. And instead of asking a question, the first thing I would say, congratulate PMI on. I think it shows a huge amount of courage and backbone to stand for something, regardless if everybody else is standing for it right now. What's your feeling on the market? Is the news the news? But are you seeing that kind of feedback also from the market? Are people more hesitant to look at sustainable things?
To be honest, personally and professionally, I haven't seen that reaction of, no, this is not important. Again, I want to focus more on the statistics that I share and what CEOs and business are saying beyond the political side. I think sustainability is moving more and more to be this space of resilience, how we do transformation, how we really generate change in the organizations that are long-term perspective. And I think if we take that approach, it doesn't matter like the political context. Of course, there is we live in a reality, but so far, I think my focus is much more on raising awareness, on people knowing that this exists in the PMI ecosystem, rather than the pushback of political reasons.
So your sentiment is that that most executives out there think long term, and they realize that regardless of what the political climate is, it's going to be an issue.
Exactly.
Some things might be delayed in legislation, but it's still in the interest of the company to focus on, which is important. For those people who are listening and says, you know what, I mean, I guess as an individual, if you're interested, they can look on the PMI website.
Of course.
They have a bunch of resources there. They can download the standards if they're members.
Yes, like this. Like the standards and the guides and these 4 resources that I mentioned are for free for
even
everyone.
If you're not even for just
they are
for,
free.
Not even for non-members.
Yeah, they are free for the world, and that's part of our commitment to the sustainability space. And
now I know of 2. There's 4.
Yes, so the practice guide, the competence standard, the P5, and the new one that is the reporting.
Okay, I haven't got that one yet. Okay,
yeah.
Good.
So all resources for
We'll
free.
put links in the bottom there.
Yes, and then if you need, you can connect with me through LinkedIn, and I can share like if you're struggling to find it, but it's quite easy. And then you have the certification to really formalize your knowledge and be really gold standard certified.
I don't want to bring any soft topics up, but I'm going to use it as a point of reference. Is there any kind of way for companies to say, hey, listen, does PMI also support us as a corporation? Kind of like the OPM3 original thought. Are there methodologies or tools at hand where companies can evaluate their own sustainable performance right now?
Yes. So we are focusing on the tools that I share. It doesn't mean that we're not going to be developing more toolkits and methods and assets, because this, as you know, it's growing. In general, what we are doing with organization is focusing on the P5, the competence standard, the practice guide, and also equip the executives with workshops and so on to really promote that culture transformation in the sustainability space.
Yeah. Okay, good. You're going on to Phoenix after this, right?
Yes, on Saturday. Yes.
Yeah. Speaking there again?
Yes, I'm going to be speaking. Yes, we have like the North America Leadership Institute meeting with our volunteers and chapters, and then the Global Summit. We're going to be doing an unconference, so really workshop on the P5, so really hands-on to the attendees of that session to really think about people, planet, prosperity, product, and processes.
Excellent, excellent. What else is, anything else that we need to know about your...
About me? Well, about
you and your initiative?
I think it's an invitation for all of us to contribute to this. First, I would say because it's the good thing to do, the right thing to do. And as you mentioned, PMI took a bold stance to say this is important no matter what. And I think we need to do the same. Second one is because it's connected to project success. So sustainability is the higher predictor of project success. So if we want our project to be successful, we need to include the sustainability KPIs and mindset from the very start to the closer. And the third one is probably because we work in organizations, and if the CEOs of our organizations are saying this is important, it's good for us to be thinking long term and be really equipped to lead the transformation.
We have one tradition in our podcast as well. I'm checking, they're awake. Very good. It's always a good sign when what I love about my film team, besides the fact that they're brilliant and creative, is they're always our guideline for whether we're entertaining too, because if they don't fall asleep, it's a good sign. Okay. Second thing is they often ask brilliant questions because they get to listen from the outside. Do you guys have any questions for Lucila?
I have one.
Go ahead.
How do you tackle the problem that sustainability is a very abstract term sometimes? You know, if I listen to all you guys here talking about the topic, it becomes very abstract. It becomes sort of twisted into that kind of business language that takes you away from the really concrete
the measurables,
also the really tangible things that are the outcomes of not acting sustainable. So how do you tackle that kind of detachment from the tactical problems that we're facing?
Well, first, I love the question. It means that she was not bored. She was really listening to us.
They ask great questions.
Yes. And I would say, unfortunately, I cannot have like the image, but I invite everyone to download that because it's for free of the P5. So the P5 methodology gives that practicality and actionability that you were asking in your question, because it looks like the periodical table of elements. So you have different criteria to really measure sustainability from the very start of the project. So when you are thinking about your project, you have the dimensions, people, planet, prosperity, and you have different categories. So there are 49 elements that you can consider in your project. So each project professional can say, well, what is the KPIs that we're going to take to bring that strategic umbrella of sustainability in the practicality of my role?
So the P5, I like what you're saying. The P5 breaks down, which to the original question, just in case they didn't hear it on the camera, was how do we get from the blah, blah understanding of sustainability to measurability? And you're just saying the P5 really deep dive. So it doesn't just look at 3 KPIs, it looks at the really variable. Yeah. There's a multitude of variability.
In fact, I don't want to overwhelm the audience, but if you want, it has 245 different ways of measuring and managing sustainability. That's the comprehensive and ambitious. Of course, it feels overwhelming. No, it's too much. But you can take the KPIs that you need for your project.
It's a supermarket. You can,
exactly, because the principle is what gets measured gets done. So it's how you can measure the people, planet, prosperity that I was referring before into really action. So that brings the actionability, practicability, and adaptability that we need in the projects to bring that high-level inspirational concept to life.
And I want to say this again. I think that's the purpose of an association is to create that common language, to create usable metrics that we can agree upon. Because otherwise, I mean, everybody's reinventing the wheel and we're never talking 100%. The same language. Very, very important. Rico, do you have any questions? So just in case you didn't hear it, you probably heard it, but just in case, the question was of a cultural nature. Is there a difference in culture, developing countries, non-developing countries, or whatever the new euphemisms are for that? Also, is there a difference between Asia, North America, what sustainability is concerned? I think a lot of people would be surprised that some nations are much more forward-thinking what sustainability is concerned than they would think.
Yes, I would say that the commonality is the people and the community is really passionate about this topic because like the purpose of PMI is maximize the project success to elevate the world. And this gives the practicality to elevate every project to really achieve our purpose. So I would say that the commonality is people are really happy that PMI took that bold stand in sustainability space. Then there are cultural difference on the reactions. We were like in Africa and people were really passionate, really excited. Some people getting certified while we were there to become champions. So that passion and emotion. I was the head of community for Europe, where for many years in Europe sustainability was a topic, and they were asking what's going to be might be doing in this space. So in Europe, I have been hearing and sensing the passion and chapters already doing things around sustainability. I know that we have a huge opportunity in China. It's a big market, and there are many consulting firms in sustainability that are opening operations and also the regulations and so on. So I would say that the world is going to be moving in that direction, regardless we call it sustainability, resilience, transformation, but it's the long-term perspective. And then the difference are more in terms of like the natural culture and the way of behaving. I would say that the passion is there. So, and now that we have the tools in our PMI ecosystem, it's a matter of how we implement that with our culture difference. And some people are more shy. Some people are, as you were explaining about the US mindset versus the European mindset. So everyone brings their own identity to the table, but the passion, the commitment, the appetite to learn, connect, and give back is there.
I asked you about the UN before, and are you doing any work directly with the UNDP or with the UNIDA?
Not.
I think you guys would be a great match because a lot of the projects I know from those two organizations are focused, have brilliant case, because I think that's another thing that we're looking for besides giving people awards. Yeah. I think people love when they realize they're not the first mover. They like to be the follower. And if you have lots of good examples, and one of the things I learned from a podcast I did with my mentor from the UNIDO, he said, one of the biggest challenges about the UNIDO is their mission was to bring all nations onto one industrial level of maturity. And he says the problem with that vision right now, or that mission, is that to put everybody on the same standard, we don't have the energy capacity. We don't have the means, the raw materials right now to be able to facilitate that. So it means two things. Either we need to change the standard of living, the expectation, or sustainability needs to become a key driving force. And I'm going to make an assumption. I would think, a lot of people say, it's the developed countries that are more forward-thinking what sustainability is. But I think there's lots of amazing examples in developing countries. Is that your experience as well?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's what I was trying. You articulated better than me, but I'm not sensing a difference in terms of more developed or underdeveloped countries. I think it's much more understanding that we need to think in the long-term perspective. And I see interest in many regions. All the regions are interested. You mentioned like the political situation. I'm not sensing that is impacting the level of commitment that people have in this topic.
And if we're looking for people to look and keep an eye on, I recently heard that China of all countries is at the foremost front. Right up there with wind energy, solar energy, is really leading the way in that.
Yes, yes. Of course, it's a huge market, but I would say that China is doing, and a lot of consulting and institutions that focus on sustainability are opening operations there. So I think we can look at China. Of course, as we were saying, like organizations, academia, institutions as PMI are leading in this space. I think that's going to be the trend for the future. Regardless, we call it sustainability, we call it resiliency, we call it regeneration, but it's thinking about the impact, the long-term impact, the role that business play, and how we activate the entire ecosystem.
Lucila, it was a pleasure having you in my podcast.
I
hope you had fun as well.
A lot of fun. Good. I want to come back next week.
Yeah, we'll. I'm sure. I would love to have a follow-up, but I'm sure we'll figure that out.
Yes, and we need more women.
Yes, we need more women. Right?
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Have fun in Arizona. I wish I would be joining you. I have other things to do, unfortunately, or thank heaven, whatever the two. Thanks a lot. For those of you who have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Lucila. She's on LinkedIn, over the website. There's plenty of opportunities. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much.